This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. We're in Miami. It's weigh-in day, fight night tomorrow. Delighted to be joined by Liam Chivers.
Oh, mate.
Did I pronounce it correctly? I was a bit worried about that.
You did indeed. I've nearly avoided you for 2 fight camps now. You've got me one day before the end.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't approach you in the last one. It was a little bit more manic, and for some reason I just thought, would Liam actually do an interview? And I wasn't sure, but then when we got talking this week, I thought he actually would. So, yeah.
You broke me down. Yeah, we're here. Spill the beans for you.
Right, absolutely. So, obviously, we'll come on to kind of Gib and Jake Paul in a little bit, but I wanted to kind of get the story, if you like, of this whole KSI Logan Paul and how it came about from your side, because we saw it from the first fight that happened. And then not only did they have a rematch, but it's quite notably done as professionals, which was the worthy note to that. But
so how did that happen?
How did it basically happen, Liam?
You would not believe the effort. You know, these guys are YouTubers. I've worked with KSI for 8 years now, and you get to a level with him being the biggest influencer that people call influencers. Not a cool word, but the biggest in the UK. It's like, well, what do you do next? We've already done this. We've already smashed 1 million pay-per-view buys on our own, platform on YouTube. Where am I going now? I want to do music, maybe acting, and what's the platform? He has to smash the mainstream barrier down. Now, he is a modern-day mainstream star, because everyone under the age of 30 knows who KSI is because of YouTube. But it's like, well, where do you take music and things like that? So those were all parts of the thought. But the main reason was, we realised after the first Logan fight, this doesn't need to be on YouTube. It was YouTube pay-per-view. Google was stopping pay-per-view afterwards anyway, so it was a risk to go down that route. So like, we've got to look for a different option here. We had backup streams getting hacked, huge piracy problems, not YouTube's fault, but there wasn't massive budget to protect all that. So it's like, well, we need to take this a bit more seriously, get these costs covered, take the risk factor out of it. Let's go and talk to some of these broadcasters. So it took me 11 months to do that deal. 11 months chasing Eddie Hearn around the world, because he's the gatekeeper to Joe Markowski, right? So I talked to them, ESPN, you name it, every broadcaster pitching what this was, and it just wasn't being taken that seriously despite the numbers, because these are elite sport channels. It's widely, Eddie is like torn between getting absolutely rinsed by the boxing fraternity, and then equally the YouTube community saying, well, you can't take it off her. So he was in a no-win situation. So it was literally just bullying him to tell him why it was worth doing this. Pictures. He's a bit of a numbers guy. He pretends he's not. But if you can show the worth and the value over different propositions you've got on the table in the world you're in, you've got to look at it. And eventually he did, and he took his ego off the table. And I think he's used to a bit of stick. So he thought, let's bring on the biggest stick I can possibly bring on, and eventually we got there with the deal. And 11 months, and really good. I mean, obviously we had to think of KSI first, and it's protecting it. Doing an event in the US rather than in home in the UK, we had no clue, because we have no resource out here. And so there.
Sorry, Liam. I remember talking to Eddie Hearn the weekend after the first fight, and it was something that obviously he wasn't involved in, but I couldn't help asking his opinion, considering we were given slight indications of the numbers in all aspects that fight was generating across YouTube, etc., etc. So I remember his words to me at the time was, because I did ask him, is it something that you would consider being involved in? And his words to me, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, was, my heart's not really in it, so he doesn't believe that would be the case. But obviously I've referred to that when he was helping promote the rematch, and I think it probably took him that 11 months to kind of digest it, process it, and actually think, do you know what, this could actually work.
100%, and that was it. I was feeling that heartbreak. It was like really just a piece of shoulder to cry on if this all goes wrong for you, mate. It's every reason you can give why this is worth doing. Everyone can see the reasons. Obviously, all the positives, they just had to outweigh the negatives. And the negatives, it's like, well, how do we bridge this? Well, the first thing is you don't take any of the build-up content, any of the promotional value off the platform where these guys are kings. That's YouTube. The only difference is the fight's on The one event, the main event, is just happens to be on another platform. That's the only difference between what we'd already done. So, they're utilising the power of these guys. It is encouraging and involving that YouTube community. And by the time that rematch fight happened, the YouTube world were really behind it. And I think Eddie did a good job appeasing the hardcore boxing fans by having a strong card with Haney and Saunders and these sort of guys on there, making it professional. The only demand Eddie actually had was the head guards. That was the only thing. And as soon as I said to KSI and then to Logan's team, what do you think about no head guards? Both of them, literally, I've never seen two people return a text message faster. Yeah, fuck yeah. We're doing it. I was like, you sure? Yeah, well, Eddie's going to be happy. I think that was the clincher. The gloves didn't matter. They were 12 ounces before, 10 ounces, whatever. Both guys just wanted the most brutal possible option in front of them.
The $1 million question, literally, obviously straight after that rematch happened in LA back in November, would be, and the constant speculation of whether KSI would return to the ring. He's kind of probably indicated that he won't, but I suppose numbers talk, and the size of level rather of opponent in question, if the money was right. I was talking to Vidal Riley about this yesterday. He said that he couldn't rule it out if there was some kind of mouth-watering offer in terms of someone that he wanted to fight, and obviously financially it was rewarding.
It has to be a relevant person. It can't just, we've been approached by a lot of people on the back of that, big rappers, celebrities, musicians, actors, and not all of them are at their peak of their craft. They've got huge followings, they've made millions in the bank, and they all think they're a big name. But right now, currently, he would only fight the top guys. Now, the only other person he might fight, everyone's talking about obviously Jake Paul. If he was to fluke a win against Gibb, he ain't beating Gibb. Everyone honestly, you wait till you see tomorrow. But I've put my name on that one now. But seriously, the only reason he would fight Jake is completely out of spite because he doesn't like him. It would have to be about the money, and KSI would have to have huge upside on the split between them because he's so much bigger than Jake. And you look at the numbers, and the even Gibbs way outperforming Jake in terms of engagement and encouraging fans to this fight. So you compare the size of the relevancy right now. KSI is so far above that Jake Paul, he can't benefit from him other than getting the pleasure of beating him. And JJ's a bit like that. He doesn't need the money, but he knows his value. That's the thing. He doesn't do things for the money. He does things for fun and, completely transcending what he's doing, taking this fight to the next level. What's he doing now? Well, how can we utilise this fight? Well, why don't we, have your next music track as the ring walk with Rick Ross in the ring for the fight, and then take that as the next thing. He's on tour at the moment, flying in for the fight tomorrow, flying back to do another sold-out show at O2. The guy wants to be busy. He wants to do all this stuff. So he will fight again because he's absolutely addicted to it. But you're right, the timing is on his, completely on his say-so. The opponent probably will be as well. But you never know. Let's see how this Gibb thing goes. If somehow Jake did beat Gibb, and it was a little bit dodgy decision, or, even if Jake got a lucky punch or something would fuel in KSI, so I'm not ruling it out. But of course, Jake needs to realise that he is very much the B side, if not the Z side in that fight, and he needs to be a little bit more flexible in negotiations for that thing.
It's interesting you say, obviously, come tomorrow night, if Gibb wins, then I suppose the whole Jake Paul is out of the window. But let's just say Gibb does win tomorrow night. So Jake Paul aside, what kind of level of celebrity or personality is it going to have to take to tempt KSI to think, okay?
It would have to be an elite level sports star, the most relevant musician. Now, people go, oh yeah, why didn't he fight Justin Bieber? Well, because he's a twig and he's not going to... But if he was in his weight class and he was up for it, I think he'd take that fight. Yeah. That's the sort of level.
So you're literally talking about the elite A-list that kind of mentality. That's the only thing he would be interested in taking.
We had this plan where, okay, well, I'm going to beat Logan Paul. Well, initially, I'm going to beat Jake Paul. He chickened out of that fight, so he fought Logan. Let's say that it did go the other way around. The whole plan was, I beat Logan, beat Jake, and then I'm going to turn pro, and I'm going to finish the story there where I beat. It could have been a journeyman or whatever, but then I've completed my boxing. We've fast forwarded it to make the Logan fight and make it on this stage. So he already is that pro. He hasn't fought an established pro. he would maybe want to do that on a low level, a smaller venue, just because he likes to tick the boxes. He likes to tick off the records and say, okay, well, I've beaten an actual pro, I've beaten this guy. So he sometimes lowers not his standards, but his expectations, depending on what he wants to achieve. So it's not always about the money. It is often about the storyline, but it's what satisfies him. He's now a pro, but people are still saying, yeah, we only beat Logan Paul, and he's not really a pro either. So in his mind, he'll still have, well, I actually have to beat an actual pro. And that will be an unknown person, and that person will become a star overnight if they were to beat him. But he's willing to risk that.
What was the response from yourself and KSI when Tommy Fury made a call out immediately after he beat Logan Paul last November?
He just thought it was a complete joke, because even though Tommy had just been in Love Island and he is a fighter, he's a fraction of the influence and scale of KSI. There's literally no benefit in it for him. There's just no point. He's not relevant enough in KSI's world, so it was never even a starter.
Well, funnily enough, some trivia for you. I don't know if you know, Sky Bet had me at 12-1 to be his next opponent, and I had people genuinely ring me up going, "Why don't you do it, mate?" And I went,
"You do it."
No, but hold on. I can't explain to people, that Sky Bet thing was, I don't know where it's come from, but what I'm saying is, like, they're going, why don't you do it like the powers with me, to go, yeah, go on, and I'll take that at 12-1, all right? But they didn't quite comprehend that. Why don't you just do it, mate? It's not a case of me just doing it. Like, if he's not considering people like Tommy Fury, he's not. Do you understand what I mean? And it was weird. The list was really bizarre.
Charity match, sport relief, something like that, maybe. But
I've got my eye on someone else anyway, so I'm ready to call them out in the ring tomorrow night.
Really? Who? Eddie.
I'll speak to you. I would actually have a charity fight with Eddie. I actually would. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. No, I'd do like a 3-round charity fight with Eddie. 100%. If he was up for it, I'd do it.
He would not be up for that. I know he doesn't mind being a meme and a no context term, but that being a meme on the canvas, don't think so.
I think he said just the risk of something going wrong could literally, yeah.
I don't think he could stick to the fitness. I think he'd be worried about his dad bod, wouldn't he?
But if Eddie, you're watching this, yeah, I'm more than willing to talk terms, and it can be on your platform as well. It's not a problem.
And from his bank account.
Yeah, absolutely. So tomorrow night should be quite interesting. Obviously, I should imagine half the YouTube world that were at the fight probably will be in Miami tomorrow night. So we are, like you said, expecting a performance, an appearance rather, from KSI tomorrow.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, all the sidemen are coming over. All the big UK influencers, they're already here. All partying and ready. Yeah, JJ will be the last one in. JJ's KSI. As I say, he's on a music tour at the moment. Literally last night played Glasgow, Dublin tonight. He's getting on a plane here. He'll get here about 2 hours before the fight, fly straight back, performing in London the next night. So that's commitment to come and see his boy. He'd be a bit knackered, but yeah, he'd be.
Yeah, it sounds it. Well, how long have you been involved with JJ, and how did you kind of get to meet him and get to work with him?
That's the long, boring story that I told you not to ask about.
No, you can break it down into a condensed version.
Yeah. So I've been doing this for 8 years. I met him 8 years ago. He was a gamer, he was a FIFA guy back then. I've always been in sales, and I used to work for a big German company called Bertelsmann. They own Sony, BMG Music, and all the different entertainment medias. So I was really in the hot spot for seeing how physical and digital media changed, and how YouTube would grow and downloads, and I'd seen the iTunes revolution. And I was in the middle of it because I worked in the gaming space. I worked with all the big games publishers to manufacture their products, everything you buy in the shops. Won't go into that. And so I used to use YouTube as a resource myself. The main reason was, for my job, I needed to just research these games and see what publishers were bringing stuff out so I could sell this manufacturing service to them. But also, I started having kids around then, and I didn't go out on a Friday night anymore, so I played Call of Duty, the video game, online, and I used to watch YouTube to get better at the game. Yeah. And I used to see these particular YouTubers growing, because that was the big game of the time. Yeah. And there was a couple of them I used to watch their videos, not as a fan, but just to get the information. And I bumped into one of them in LA in the middle of a convention, like 8.5 years ago, and we just got chatting, and I just started realising I could have introduced this guy to this world of gaming, into all the big exhibitors, and I could have got brand deals and sponsorships for this kid, and it went from there. Anyway, I met JJ on the back of starting to work with another big YouTuber, a huge UK YouTuber called Ali A, who's like the big guy on Fortnite, the game now, still millions of followers as well, really influential. And we were doing brand deals with this kid. He was sponsored by Monster Energy. I got him all his laptop sponsors, all the games, and that's what I did. I basically pioneered the first brand integrations on YouTube, and JJ just happened to see a bit of that, and he was the biggest, or he was in the top 2 or 3 for the UK even back then. And I bumped into him at a convention literally about a month later, and he asked me, well, what's all this about? How are you making this guy all this money and doing all these deals? And we just started chatting and sitting down where he wanted to go. We just did a few little trial things, a few little pieces here. We did a few, we built his profile in the football world because he did some FIFA stuff. We did a video with Rio Ferdinand in his restaurant in Rosso in Manchester, and they had a game of FIFA against each other. And this was where the sort of people started realising the power of these gaming YouTube. Now JJ Kessa had about 400,000 followers, subscribers on YouTube at the time, still a lot. Rio had, I don't know, 5 million Twitter followers, and is still, apart from Rooney, I think he's still the most followed UK footballer. And he had a YouTube channel, 5, you probably know it, and he was interviewing Ronaldo at the time in Manchester, doing all this great content from the training ground, but he was only hitting about 5,000 views a video. So we got chatting to his people, so well, you need a bit of a boost. KSI was averaging 2 million off 400,000 subscribers even back then. And so we got this hooked up. KSI rocks into the restaurant in a pimp suit, like blows the place where all these people dine in their posh food and like looking over their shoulders. Anyway, they did this video. KSI beats Rio at FIFA at his restaurant, gets about 2 mil views on the video, and the rematch of the FIFA match went on Rio's channel and got 1.8 million views. He was averaging 5,000 with Ronaldo. So everyone's like, how can I only get 5,000 with Ronaldo and this kid's just coming and play FIFA in it? And I've got, his subs went from 25,000 to 200,000 over the week. And Google, who own YouTube, saw these analytics and got in touch, said, what the hell's happened here? And we told them the exact thing. And they use it as a case study of the perfect collaboration to grow a channel on YouTube. And so we just did a few more of them, and that got his name around a bit more respectable in terms of those sort of the football world, which he loves. He's an Arsenal fan, not so much this season, but he's those were the sort of foundations there. Then that took him to do different presenting roles on YouTube with football going around the world, being sponsored by different apparel brands and boots and things. So that's where it began with KSI. But then his ambition went in a completely different direction to the gaming world. It was like, well, what are my loves? Music. We wrote a book. #1 bestseller. He did a movie. It's like, well, what's next? And it just happened to be boxing, didn't it? So that was the evolution.
You said that was the boring stuff, but I actually found that the more interesting stuff of how you two kind of got together. And I remember, because he's been around, he seems like he's not that old, but he seems like he's been around for ages, and he's kind of a veteran of the YouTube world, isn't he, KSI? Yeah, absolutely.
Well, he's a kingpin. I think that he's always been at the top. You can only go one way, can't you? But he's just, through sheer hard work and talent, he's just stayed there. And if everyone's going on the same trajectory, if he's up here, his exponential growth is just so much bigger. And so, he doesn't care about numbers, and he doesn't look at subscribers. Otherwise, he'd be uploading every day. He uploads whenever his video's ready, whenever he wants to. It could be 3 a.m, or when everyone says, it's got to be 8 p.m. That's when all the kids are at home, and that's the peak. He doesn't give a crap. He gets away with it because he's KSI. He breaks the mold. So yeah, he could do a lot more views, a lot more videos, and earn even more money. But he just does it on his terms, and he's in a very lucky position. No one else can do that.
All right, well listen, we've got the weigh-in not too long away, so I'm going to let you crack on with your day. Nice watch, by the way.
Same.
Yeah, I did. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to catch up with you again, Liam, but we look forward to a great night in Miami. It's Super Bowl weekend. It's just, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. Up the big gibber, 7-figure gibber. 4th round stoppage.
Really? I've had a bet with Eddie Hearn, actually. I've bet that there won't be a stoppage in the fight, so he's saying that there will, and we've had a little money bet on the camera, so
Who's winning at 1 point?
I have to keep it neutral a little bit, but
Good man. I saw that.
Yeah, we've got to keep it neutral anyway. Liam, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV, and like I said, hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
See you later. Good man.
Gold Star Promotions is proud to present Floyd Money Mayweather. The man himself is coming to the UK for his UK tour, February and March 2020. For all info and tickets, Gold Star Promotions.co.uk.